What's up, guys? Welcome to Real Beats. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to level, mix, and master your melodies and drums. If you guys ever subbed already or turn post notifications on, make sure you do so because it does help the channel out a lot. Let's hop right into it. So this way is going to be slightly different and hopefully a lot better if you go through the video correctly and at least do everything that I do. This should improve your leveling and everything like almost instantly if you do that. All right, now other ways it'll take time, you know, you have to use your ear and train your ear. This you don't need to train your ear. All right, this will be really easy if you just follow these steps. But first we're going to start with our drums, and then we're going to go over how to go about leveling and mixing your melodies. All right, okay, so let's go ahead and mix our drums. Now, first thing that you need to do with your samples, make sure they're somewhat like this, or at least they're not peeking over this, like this box or the edges of this rectangle. If it looks like this, then what I'm about to tell you won't translate very well because your sounds are going to be peaking way too much. Doesn't mean you can't use it. That just means you have to kind of turn them down, turn the actual sample down or whatever. So that's one thing to note. Let's go in here. And one thing, the way I want to explain this is with like this main drum example. And what this is only mixing or only spending time mixing the main drums. So what are the main drums? It's only 4 of them. Everything else is irrelevant. If you don't have one of these, then your beat will sound, it will sound weak, all right? Or something will sound like it's missing. What are those drums? Of course, the 808. In some cases, you don't even need the kick, but obviously you'll need a kick, the clap, and the hi-hat. That's the only thing that you need to actually mix. So I'm gonna go ahead and just show you the beat, like just let you hear the beat real quick. All right, doesn't even sound bad, honestly. Let's mute these. But if you're sending stems or, you know, you're sending to somebody, most of the time that's not a good idea to just mix it like this. But you can just put on the soft clipper, and I have mastering presets here I'm gonna give y'all and show y'all how to use later. But for the drums, let's go ahead and turn everything down. Got my kick in mono, and I just put this perk in mono a little bit because it was kind of too much and, you know, too wide. Let's focus on our 808 and kick. Okay, so now we're gonna do the kick and 808. So first thing we need to do is level it. Now this is the best way to actually mix your drums or any instruments, because when you EQ, all you're doing is just boosting a certain frequency, a certain amount of dB, which is actually increasing the volume of the sound. Whether you like it or not, that's what it's doing. Now they have other EQs for other things, but the main like generic EQ, that's what it's doing. So if you turn it down, you're naturally turning down those frequencies anyway. So if it's leveled, you don't have to do too much, right? And that's when you see a lot of people, their EQs look like this, right? You don't want that. You just want it to be used subtly. And I don't know what happened to this. There we go. All right, so let's level it. Now the way I like to level it is I use like ratios pretty much. So you go to -6 dB with my 808 to kick. Okay. And is this the best way to do it? No, but this is the most consistent in my experience. So the other way, now let's, you know, pull this down so the whole thing is at -6. All right, so this is where it would land. But you know, the other way, like the technical way, would be doing it here. Now, the reason I don't like doing it here is because the computer cannot hear the music. It can't feel the music. It doesn't know what it's supposed to sound like. It doesn't know what's trendy in music. It doesn't know what people like. It just knows numbers. And sometimes it's not the best way to do it. So if I were to say, okay, I want the 808 to be -6, so the kick is at -6 dB, and then I said, you know, -6 away from that. So if you did it here, right, it would hit at -12. Let's pull it up, right? Which right now it doesn't sound fine, but when you go over here and you put on the mastering presets and stuff, it's not gonna sound good. You're gonna end up turning it back down. Because the kick's not gonna punch the way you want it to. Okay, so let's pull that back down. Just a decent little. Okay, I think that's good enough. So now we just need to EQ. So how we do that? You just pick a frequency and just pull it up. So we can just do that one and just pull it down just a little bit like that. Okay, and you just pick whatever frequency you like. And we could do that one. We can even, okay, and this is not perfect, but I don't think I need this, but I just want to show just in case your kick and 808, they're not hitting right together. So now with this, you just pull these down the opposite direction. All right, and I just kind of pull these in a little bit. You know, you see how it's moving back and forth. Kind of make it a little bit narrow, just so I can get all those 808 frequencies in there and I'm not taking them all out. All right, just makes it a little slightly bit clearer. And then on this 808 in particular, I'm going to add a wave shaper. Okay, and the reason for this is so we can hear it a lot better, like if you're on the phone or something. So you should put something like right here, and then we can just pull it, right, something like that. Pull this up, and then I would pull this down a little bit. Right, and I just kind of like the way that sounds. So that is how you mix the 808 and the kick. Now let's move on to the claps and stuff. All right, so let's go ahead and do our claps and everything. So the clap is actually one of those main instruments. So there's only 4 of them: 808, kick, clap, and hi-hat. Without one of these 4, or without all of these, you don't have a beat at all. So you could literally just use these instruments and you can make a really good beat with just this. You don't need all this filler. That's why I call them main instruments, because without them, the beat is nothing. So these you want to focus on more. So with the clap, I like to put it in between the kick and the 808, right? Maybe even at the 808, just somewhere around there. And you don't, you know, and just to prove to you, it doesn't really matter. We could just throw it down. Okay, it's not really that serious, exact numbers. Okay, so I'm actually pull up a little bit, and what we can do, we don't even got to put up that much, is come over here. All right, and we don't need a parametric EQ. We can just boost the highs a little bit and just boost it like that. Probably pull it in a little bit more. Remember what I told you, when you boost EQ, you're actually boosting the sound. That's why it sounds louder, because we're actually making it louder. All right, so that's why I said don't get too technical on the numbers, because when you add EQs and stuff, it's going to change anyway. That's why I use ratios, because it's a lot more consistent over, you know, everything. And then we have our perk. Now this is how I would do like anything like the clap. So like a snare, a perk, stuff like that. I don't let it go. I either make it go equal to, or I don't let it go above it. Okay, I just anything below that. Wait. And we can actually boost this one just a little bit. Okay, it's that simple. Now, just don't let it go above the clap, because the clap is kind of like that static rhythm instrument or drum that you want to be heard all the time, because without it, this perk, it just kind of sounds like it's coming out of nowhere, right? So that's how you mix the claps and the snares. Now we're gonna move on to the hi-hat. All right, so let's go ahead and start with our hi-hats, open hats, perks, sound effects, whatever is here. Now with this one, it's a little different, because usually the hi-hat, the sound, like the original sound, is a lot lower than a clap or a perk. So that's why sometimes you might see the hi-hat up like this. But the best way to go about it is to turn it down, like the master volume down, and turn the hi-hats up until you can kind of hear them. Okay. Okay, and I can kind of hear it there. Now, if you want to mix in mono, you can. Okay, it's completely up to you. I don't really mix in mono, because for a beat, I don't really think it's necessary. It's just a beat, all right? So, that's how I would do the hi-hats. Just kind of raise it until you can kind of hear it, all right? And then everything from there, you don't really want it above that hi-hat. Remember, I said this is a main instrument, so everything in this category, you can just kind of pull up anywhere, really. You can see how everything kind of swoops into one another with this method. Now, if I pull these up, sounds good, but it doesn't mesh well, right? And this open hat kind of comes out of nowhere. That's why I use this hi-hat as a guide for these. And then you can just kind of pan them however you want. But I'm gonna just quickly go ahead and just. All right, so that is the drums. Now we're gonna move on to the melody. All right, so with our melodies, it's gonna be similar to our drums, but a little different after. So what you need to find with your melodies is the one, either the one that you really like. So whatever melody you want people to hear the most or shine the most, you want that to kind of be the lead melody. And that is the one you want to be your main. So you know how we did the main with the kick, 808, clap, and more importantly, the hi-hat, and everything else kind of followed that. That's what we want to do here. And if that doesn't work, what you can do is find the one with the most energy. So for this one, all you have to do is play everything together and take certain instruments out, and whichever one makes it sound a lot like have a lot less energy is the one that is your main instrument. So let's play it. All right, so you can see how it just lost something that it needed, which is the piano. And usually when you have piano melodies, it is the piano. But for example, if you wanted this sound right here to be the main instrument, you would just kind of mix everything to that one. Okay, that's simple. So that's how you go about leveling it. But I'm gonna go ahead and level the piano, and then we can go ahead and, so let's just mute these. And how you go about leveling this? Well, first let's just level it. We can just go somewhere over here. Okay. So like 14-ish. Okay, and then from here, I don't really let anything go above. Okay, so continue leveling the rest of this. All right, just so you can hear it a little bit. So these like side sounds, you just want to mesh into these main ones. And then we got this vocal. All right, so that is the leveling. And then you can always highlight everything so that you can level it to the drums. But that's the last thing we're gonna do. So now what we need to do is add, not add, but put, do our EQs and everything. But I'm gonna add a reverb to this actually, because I think it sounds a bit dry. So it's piano one on. You can copy this preset if you would like. Just to give it some ambience. So now for this piano, all you're doing here, and people like to over EQ, they like to try to make the EQ look all cool. So, producers think they real talented, but really, bro, like, don't be doing all that. Just take out the lows so it doesn't mesh with the 808, and just leave it at that. So this is how I do it. Now let's just mute it, and I'm gonna do this one slow and just do the rest a little faster. But this is how I do it. I literally just do this, and we can even go to order. Actually, let me pull this up so you can see it. The order, and I just do like step 6, and then you just wiggle it back and forth. then you could boost maybe. And then how to find frequencies you don't like without knowing what it sounds like. You just boost one. All right, and I don't really like that sound, so I'm gonna take it out so we can pull it down a little bit. All right, so here's after. Well, here's what it sounds like now. And the goal with this is to not shape the sound or anything. It's just to clean it up for the mix. All right. You want it to sound like the original as much as possible. That's why I said don't be trying to do too much or whatever. So just leave it like that. So I'm just go ahead and do that with the rest of these, and we can just pan these just a little bit. I usually just pan the main instruments and then leave the rest, but we can kind of just do it just because. Why not? All right, here's what the panning does. All right, just separates the sound. You can really, change the mix if you do it right, but for this one, we're just gonna leave it bare minimum. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this one, same process. I'm just go a little faster. All right, so all I'm doing there is just boosting the frequencies that sound best, and then lowering some of the frequencies that don't sound great. And you can see a lot more on this one, how I boosted it there. All right, and not so much with these, but mainly with those. So now we just need to level it in relation to our drums. So you just kind of pull them down a little bit. And how I do that, same way with the clap. I just kind of put it either by the 808 or in between the kick and 808, but I don't want it above my kick. I always want my kick to be somewhat the loudest. All right, and I think that's good. So now let's go ahead and move on to the mastering. All right, so the last thing we need to do is polish it and just bring the levels up by mastering it. And now if you're using a different DAW, this first part is for you. Now these presets were supposed to be in a mixing and mastering kit, but I'm gonna give you guys these for free. Especially, the FL users out there, you guys can just literally just download the file right now and you can just exit the video. But if you use a different DAW, you can just copy these compressor settings. So look for attack, release. I don't think type is like a universal thing, but gain, ratio, and threshold, those are the ones that you can copy here. And all you'll need to do is just pull it up, pull that gain up, or I'm sure a lot of y'all have ozone or something. You can just mix it from there and be done. But here's what it sounds like without it, and then with. Okay, then we have this go to EQ, and basically I just took out those really low frequencies that they say you can't hear, but I can hear them. So I'll take them out. And then around this 40 hertz, I'll boost the 808 a little bit just to give it a little thickness. And then we have this right here boosted, and this is kind of like where my kick is sitting. So I kind of boosted that to give it the punch. And then obviously for clarity, I just boosted the highs, so the hi-hats and stuff won't be left behind. All right, and here's without. So this next part is really just presets. So here's my mastering one. Now, if you're an FL user, you don't gotta worry about this, like I said. But really on the master, and this, I don't even know why I did this. It just, you know, one of those crazy things you just do and it works. So I just kept mine like this, and then I would just pull this saturation ceiling right where my pre-gain is set to, like, I think it's like negative 0.5 dB, and I just put my ceiling exactly where that's at. Okay, for the saturation, and then my lows and stuff. You see, all I did here, this is what it would really look like, and I just boosted it just a little bit, and obviously you can boost the post so that everything kind of stays loud how you want it, as you can see. And then I think this is the regular. If not, you can just copy if you have Maximus. And then the stereo enhancer, separate it a little bit right here. I think it's like 4% or something like that. You just whatever, 5%. And then this was after I did the stereo shaper, but I turned the volume down. I don't know where it's at now. It's at 70. I think it's the default is 80%. I turned it down to 70% because when you add the stereo shapers, it makes it really loud. So I'll just play it with these. You can really stop there if you wanted to, but now if you want it to sound wide, this is how you do it. You add the stereo shaper, and I'm not really sure what preset this is, but it looks like this. And I just saved it here, and I just call it the left because I didn't want to forget it. Turn it on. Okay, I know it's in one ear, but when you add two of them, it recenters it, and now it's gonna sound really wide. All right, so that's how you master it, and that's gonna be it for this video. Let me guys know what you think in the comments if this was helpful or not. But yeah, like, comment, subscribe if y'all new, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.